Gathered together today. We are the Faith Coalition against Cop City, and we are here to again raise our voices so that Mayor Andre Dickens and the members of the City Council of Atlanta know that we will not stand for the atrocities that have been occurring. We will not stand for Cop City to go forward. The community came out and made public comment for over 17 hours when given an opportunity and said emphatically, no, we don't want your Cop City. We don't want more repression of black people. We don't want more polluted air. We don't want less green space in our community. We don't want more policing and terrorizing of black, brown, indigenous bodies in our community. So we are here as faith leaders today. Faith leaders who connect the people who are connected to this land. And we are here to say, Mayor Dickens, if you didn't hear us the first time, we are here once again to let you know that we don't want Cop City. This is our community. This is our land. I am a daughter of East Atlanta. I still live in East Atlanta. I don't want Cop City. Yes. My granny owns a home that she's been in for almost 50 years in the heart of East Atlanta Village. She does not want Cop City. Right. My neighbor across the street does not want Cop City. The teachers at my daughter's school do not want Cop City. And we are all from the community. So we're here today to make sure that we ring the alarm and dispel the false narrative that is outside agitators who don't want this. We know that this is the rhetoric that's been going on ever since abolition began, that it's outside agitators. They said slaves didn't want to be free, but it was white people from the north who wanted it. That's a lie. They said that black people in the south didn't want civil rights, but it was white people from the north. That's a lie. Today they are claiming that the black people love Cop City. It's outside agitators from elsewhere. And that, again, is a lie. Simply because the police have chosen to systematically arrest people from out of state doesn't mean that what they're saying is the truth. So without belaboring the point, I am going to call on someone who is extremely important in this movement, because all of this is a fight over land, which white people have been waging since the beginning of time, a fight over land. I am going to call Miko Shaban Colonel of the Muskogee Creek people, whose land is continually disenfranchised, to help bring a bit more clarity to this moment, to this movement, and to tell you why we will not stop fighting against Cop City. And after you hear from Miko Shaban Colonel, we'll have Reverend Darcy Jarrett once again bring you the occasion for today.
If you'll bear with me for a moment, I'm going to bring you into my world so that you can acknowledge the spiritual landowners of these territories, so that you can acknowledge everything that my relative just shared about these homelands that our Muskogee people call. But to do that, I'm going to say this in my language and I'll translate afterwards. Momen hayoma, omajalagadarit, yonobogarit, aha giti jagis. Ano gitska, iaskida, asak kwechka, idmo chagida, o hagatheje, istajadelge in harjatska, abogarit, ahakede, chayofan, in foliden madan, o hagasamet, folitkas, istamusko galgi, folagan, athakweje, folidois. In this time, let us take this moment to remember the ancient ones who lived in this very area. Let us be mindful of the love, respect, and humbleness they had for all people and for this land that gives us water and food. As we become more mindful of these first Native American people, may we live in the same manner. I share these words in our Muskogee language because it's appropriate, because our ancestors lived here for over 13,000 years. And if you're to do the math correctly, this country that we now call the United States is somewhere in the neighborhood of 240. Just over, nearly 2 years ago, I came here to the Wilani Forest. I came here with my own family, my own children, with some of my elders to just share a little bit about how this territory and this land feels to us as Muskogee people. Because let it be known today, it was not our choice to leave here. We did go to war to protect these areas. We did go through much burden to protect these areas, only to be forced to leave here under military occupation, but also to be forced to leave here after treachery, after illegally lands were taken from us, of laws that were not founded in this land, laws that were founded across the ocean. This is our homeland. My ancestors, for generation upon generation, for millennia, are buried on the very ground that you walk on every day. And I think we have a say in how we should live as a society in this day and time. And so in this moment, our hope is to be able to come back, to rematriate, to take our lives back into the intimacy that we once had with everything that grows here in what you now call the state of Georgia. To come back to every plant, to every tree, to come to a level of intimacy and respect for all that they give. Because no matter who we are and where we come from, we have to have air, we have to have water, we have to have the elements of this earth to take care of us, regardless of what we think. We're dependent on this earth mother, and she has been faithful in taking care of us. It's us that has not been faithful in respecting her. So our hope is that this earth is not destroyed before we even have a chance to come back. That lives aren't destroyed before we have a chance to come back. So today, in whatever way I come here to join the choruses of voices that you hear all around you saying what is going on now is a violence against all of creation.
Yes.
What is going on now, bringing death and harm and hurt, is a violence against all of creation.
Amen.
And we stand in solidarity as Muskogee people. I stand in solidarity with the voices that we hear of those tenants, those persons who live in the land now. Because we're not in the business of kicking anybody out.
That's right.
We're all creation.
Yes.
We want a future that has hope. We want a future that is peaceful. We want a future where our children can go and live as they see fit, where they can understand what it means to grow a seed in this earth, to drink clean water. Over the past years, I have done what I could. By vocation, I'm a clergy person with the United Methodist Church, working for indigenous peoples all over the world. That we have come to the city many times and have had a great relationship of acknowledging the source of water, the Chattahoochee River that flows here, of acknowledging these territories. But my hope is now at this moment in time that somehow we can change the trajectory of our species and go into a direction where we can value each other. We can value the lives, and we can stop the criminalizing of dissent. We should be able to say no. Our brothers, our relatives, we should be able to say no. Today, whatever it is, I come here looking for a better place for my family, which includes all of you, for my children. And I hope that even those that have yet to be born into this earth will have a place of peace. That they will even have something as simple as a park. Something as simple as grass to walk upon. Our hope is that we can come and begin to build a future that consists of harmony, peace, and the values that my ancestors carried of love and respect and humbleness. That just maybe those will prevail instead of the presence of violence, the presence of weapons. Because let it be known, I've seen it all over the world. The increasing of the militarized forces out there does not ever create peace. It only creates harm. And it only harms those that are most vulnerable. That's the prayer that I carry today. Madugo Jagets Jake.
Thank you, brother. Thank you.
Good morning. Good morning to you all. My name is Darcy Jarrett. I'm the co-pastor of Park Avenue Baptist Church. I'm a trans non-binary Baptist preacher, so we won't be here long, I promise. I come here with the full support of my community, Park Avenue Baptist Church, a community that speaks regularly and teaches regularly about the harms incurred on this land. We speak the name of the Muskogee people before every worship, every meeting and prayer, and now is the time to act. We teach about the doctrine of discovery, a doctrine that was defended by clergy people, Christian clergy people. And so I've come today to make a statement before we read our letter, a statement about solidarity with our siblings who are indigenous to this land, the Muskogee people. I'm humbled to be the one speaking at this moment, not just as a clergy person, but as a white, female-bodied human being in America right now. I am called by my very history and roots to call out for justice, call out injustice when we see it, to participate in movements that begin to repair harm, not cause more harm. My family's history is what brings me to this moment right now. My family who participated in the stripping of the lands in the Miami River Valley in what is now called Ohio. I have been in the city of Atlanta now for 20 plus years. And I want to say on behalf of the clergy standing here that we rescind the validity of the claim that this land was terra nullius, was empty before the colonizers came, before our ancestors, white people's ancestors, European ancestors arrived here. We rescind the ideals of forced conversion, of rampant unchecked commercialization, and the extraction of the land as a policy. We rescind that. We say no. We say no to Cop City, and we say no to this history. We want to move forward in a different way. It is the work of my life to trudge this path toward redemption. Redemption for my ancestors, for people who lost their way. Muskogee people, for generations and generations, were here on this land, the stewards. And when I heard Miko Chaban talk about reintroducing himself and his family to this land, my heart swelled with emotion and with the vision of how we can move forward in harmony. DeKalb County and the city of Atlanta have the opportunity to be a part of this vision. Yes. Join us. Yes. Join us. The forest is an ecosystem. Yes. Its roots are deeper than the roots of the oppression that has happened on this land, the prison farms. These roots are deeper and more profound, and they run back to our sacred land keepers, the Muskogee people. City Schools of Decatur has a statement of solidarity, an acknowledgement of harms. DeKalb County and the city of Atlanta, we call on you to make good on these words, to give the land back to our indigenous siblings, so that they, as they have stated and will do and always have done, work in collaboration with the Black and Brown community right there near where the site is, outside of the Weelaunee Forest. The city of Atlanta is ready to lease this land at just $10 an acre. Instead, give this land to the native inhabitants. Repatriate this land to the people to whom is their sacred call to defend, and work in community with the Black and Brown communities that are there. The ground is crying out with injustices of the past, and the current violence continues the loss of precious life. We call on you, Atlanta City Council, to be the moral compass and to not just halt the building of this structure, but to repatriate the land to the sovereign Muskogee Nation, the sacred keepers of this land. May it be so.
Amen.
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 Amen. Amen. Amen. Amen. Amen. Amen. Amen. Amen. Amen. Amen. Amen. Amen. Amen. Amen. Amen. Amen. Amen. Amen. Amen. Amen. Amen. Amen. Amen. Amen. Amen. Amen. Amen. Amen. Amen. Amen. Amen. Amen. Amen. Amen. Amen. Amen. Amen. Amen. Amen. Amen. Amen. Amen. Amen. Amen. Amen. Amen. Amen. Amen. Amen. Amen. Amen. Amen. Amen. Amen. Amen. Amen. Amen. Amen. Amen. Amen. Amen. Amen. Amen. Amen. Amen. Amen. Amen. Amen. Amen. Amen. Amen. Amen. Amen. Amen. Amen. Amen. Amen. Amen. Amen. Amen. Amen. Amen. Amen. Amen
And now I would like to introduce Matthew Johnson, the Executive Director of the Beloved Commune Ministry, to read the letter for the City Council. Oh, actually, I would love to introduce my sibling, Reverend Leo Shage Allen, to read the letter to the City of Atlanta.
Good afternoon. Come on, y'all. I'm Baptist, so you need to talk to me. Good afternoon. All right. I know we're here for a serious reason and purpose, but I still have to find joy in the prophetic hope that there is another way possible, and that the work that is being done to protect Wilani People's Park and the blood that was shed on January 18th is not work that is in vain.
Right.
Thank you. I also want to just give credit to the clergy and other community leaders who are here as I prepare to read this statement. We, local Atlanta clergy and religious leaders representing diverse communities, call on clergy, religious leaders, and people of faith and moral conscience across this nation and in solidarity with local Atlanta leaders to stop Cop City, stop the swap, and defend the Atlanta Forest, Wilani People's Park. We need all people of faith and conscience, those who love and build community, with the knowledge that we are interconnected across culture and geographies, to join us in this work. Today we're gathered for this press conference and we will be delivering a letter to Atlanta City Council, but we invite you to continue in this faithful work that we are doing and contribute wherever you find your space in this growing movement. We call on clergy, religious leaders who are a moral authority in our society to use your power in support of the forest protectors. We are deeply concerned for the greater Atlanta community and the implications for the future of public safety in the United States if Cop City moves forward. To ignore the cries of residents, the city of Atlanta moves to destroy the nation's largest urban forest and replace it with the largest militarized police training facility in North America. Shame. Despite a record-breaking amount of public comment opposing the facility, Atlanta City Council still passed legislation to build Cop City. We are troubled by leadership that stops acting on the will of the people and aligns itself instead with corporate money and the dominant power structure. Urged on by the message of peace and compassion in all our faiths, we deplore escalating militarization by city and state government. Most recently, since the police killing of Rayshard Brooks here in 2020 by the Atlanta Police Department, and Tortuguita, January 18th of this year, by Georgia Patrol. We applaud the rising consciousness and the need to protect humans and the more than human by resisting police violence everywhere. And may I add that in the face of the violent raid that took place last night, as city residents gathered in solidarity to defend this forest, that is an example of the militarization that we are calling out. And as people of faith and moral conscience, we say no more. No more. We are deeply concerned about the preservation of the Wilani River, its surrounding watershed and forest, specifically the area within Wilani People's Park, also known as Entrenchment Creek, a 3,500-acre span of urban forest, roughly 7 miles southeast of Atlanta, which has always been home to a diverse ecosystem. These lands are home to the Muskogee Creek people. Since time immemorial, the nexus of their ceremonies, language, and ways of life. Through violence and greed, these lands have been subjected to centuries of abuse, from the forced removal of indigenous communities, to serving as a plantation for enslaved African labor, to the site of the old Atlanta prison honor farm in the 20th century that produced immense profits for the prison system. Today, the sounds of birdsong from the forest canopy live alongside the sound of gunfire. and the adjacent APD firing range.
No more.
We are troubled by the commodification of community land, water, and air on which all of us depend.
Yes.
We are horrified and frankly pissed off
Yep.
about the raid in Wilani Forest that resulted in the killing of 26-year-old Manuel Tertuguita Tortuguita, as they are affectionately known. We are profoundly troubled by the use of military tactics and escalated legal charges on members of our community, suppressing legitimate resistance while at the same time clear-cutting the forest trees despite not having the appropriate permits. From the prophet Job, a scripture held as wisdom by Christians, Muslims, and Jews alike, and beloved poetry by many outside of faiths, we are called to recognize and protect the sacred. But ask the animals, and they will teach you.
Yes.
The birds of the air, and they will tell you.
Yes.
Ask the plants of the earth, and they will teach you. And the fish of the sea will declare to you. Who among all these does not know that the hand of the Lord has done this? In God's hand is the life of every living thing and the breath of every human being. From Job 12, verses 7 to 10. The lands and the people of Atlanta have suffered violence for too long.
Too long.
We say no more.
No more.
We declare with faith, commitment, and hope that this land will be a part of healing and repair,
Yes.
and the flourishing of all people in the greater Atlanta community and beyond.
Amen.
As people of peace, we commit to work in solidarity for these things, recognizing the continuous efforts of the Muskogee people, Black freedom fighters, working class organizers, artists, and so many more who formed the stream of past and present liberation movements. To begin repair and healing of the harm already done, we Atlanta clergy, religious leaders, and all of those across the nation and world who are in agreement join our voices with calling for the following: a complete stop of the Cop City project and
Yes.
cancellation of the Atlanta Police Foundation's lease,
Yes.
dropping all charges against forest defenders and protesters.
Yes.
We demand an independent investigation into the uses of domestic terrorism charges.
Yes.
We demand an independent investigation into the killing of Manuel Tortuguita.
Yes.
We speak their name,
Yes.
for which recently released video footage of the event suggests there was lying and deceit surrounding the incident on part of law enforcement in their initial reporting of the incident.
Yes.
We demand all current and former city council members and mayors to heed the voice of the people
Yes.
by rescinding their explicit or tacit support for building Cop City, including former Mayor Keisha Lance Bottoms and current Mayor Andre Dickens, previous council members Cleta Winslow, J.P. Matsiki, pronunciation, I apologize, and Joyce Shepard, current members Liliana Bakhtiari, Michael Julian Bond, Andrea Boone, Jason Dozier, Amir Faroki, Dustin Hillis, Marcy Collier Overstreet, Howard Shook, Keisha Sean Waits, Matt Westmoreland, and Jason Winston.
Yes.
The community process to continue envisioning how the Wilani River and forest can be the heart and lungs of community wellness and healing is what we are demanding.
Yes.
This process should center the voices of those most marginalized and impacted, Muskogee leaders and community members,
Yes.
incarcerated people
Yes.
in the surrounding prisons and their families,
Yes.
neighbors and those who live in close proximity to APD firing range
Yes.
and under police surveillance throughout the city,
Yes.
and community organizations fighting for holistic community safety,
Yes.
clean water,
Yes.
tree canopies,
Yes.
and a future for all of our children.
Amen.
It is not too much to ask, but we are not the ones asking or demanding this. Friends, this is God's plan for beloved community.
Yes.
As people of moral conscience, we will not succumb to evil or systems or policies that bring further harm and destruction. We will continue our work with justice and love until that great day when we can all live in peace
Yes.
as God's children and as siblings. Amen.
Amen.
Now we will have Matthew Johnson, who is the Executive Director of the Beloved Community Ministries, who will close us out.
I come from the Baptist tradition, and I believe that there is a lot of missing context around when Jesus came onto the scene politically. There were many people who were thought to be the Messiah before him. Let's start with one that's been on my mind since our friend Tortuguita was killed, John the Baptist. John the Baptist tended to stay to himself. He lived in the forest.
He did.
He lived off of the land.
Yes, he did.
That's right.
He was not very familiar.
That's right.
He was not very liked by the political establishment. The political establishment was of his hue,
Yes.
but not of his interest.
How about that?
That's right.
The
That's
political
right.
establishment was not appointed by the people, but the imperialist power of Rome.
Yes.
So we find John the Baptist in the woods, converting many and telling them of this new world to come.
That's it.
Yes.
Prepare the way.
Meanwhile,
Hey.
in the temple, they were doing all manner of evil. It had nothing to do with the
That's
people
right.
that instead had decided that their lot was better in the woods to create a new world.
Yes.
Lesser known than John the Baptist was Judas, and not the one that we know about, but Judas of Galilee,
Yes,
which is why
yes.
Jesus scared people so much when he came from Galilee.
Come on now.
Judas of Galilee got his start after the increasing of taxation, you know, kind of like what gentrification does,
Yes.
because
Yes.
of Rome in 6 CE.
Make it
Yes.
plain.
Now, when that happened, Judas wasn't playing around. Judas said, anybody who pays the taxes, we will burn down your farm and take your cattle and have that belong to the people from this point forward. You know, Judas of Galilee got a lot of stuff done, but he was not the Messiah. Then you find Jesus, who said that we need to create a world of our own, generate the power within ourselves to change things and transform this world by the renewing of our minds, and all other things would follow. Do you know what they all had in common? They all got killed by the state.
Did.
No matter what they did.
Come on now.
If you stay in the forest, you get killed. If
Yes.
you burn things down, you get killed. If you try to start a new world simply by transforming yourself, you still got killed.
Yes.
There's a better way.
We're projecting by the end of the day, there will be 40 people that have domestic terrorism charges.
Yes.
Many of which just for being in a parking lot.
Yes. Yes.
I don't know how anybody can accept this when you have a projected 40 people that are committed of domestic terrorism, not one dead body. Meanwhile, we can't even show the bruise on the police officer that was allegedly killed through a vest, or shot at through a vest, rather.
That was
But our friend's ashes have... We have the ashes of a friend that we will spread.
Yes.
We know that it was a lie
yeah.
around the killing of Tortuguita. And by the admission of an Atlanta police officer, it seemed as if they effed their own officer up.
That's on the video.
That's on the video. Yet still, let us keep in mind that even with the burning down of the facilities that were on that land, let's not confuse this with the rule of law why they're being prosecuted. This is the rule of the rich. Dave Wilkinson, the CEO of the Atlanta Police Foundation, although the appeal was being filed and that should have stopped work, flouted that in his email, saying that they would keep building anyway. So still, even with the burning down of all of this, and now the risking of about 24 more people getting domestic terrorism, they're still further ahead with the construction than they should be legally allowed.
Right.
It is the asymmetry of state violence that we're fighting against. Now, you mean to tell me, after all the violence that we've seen, that now they're going to figure out how to de-escalate a situation? I saw a police officer start running. 3 people ran. Well, shit, I mean, it's on video, so I might as well tell you the truth. So 3 people start running. 2 of them were white, 1 of them were indigenous. Guess which one he followed? He then tackled him, put him in a headlock, and his arm was face down, and his arm was down like this. And he was saying that he couldn't breathe. And then he was saying that if he didn't put his hands behind his back, he would keep choking him. Now, physically, he's incapable of putting his hands behind his back because his shoulder's pinned down. So he keeps choking him. And it was us that had to de-escalate it. The person with the gun and the taser tasing this man was the one that was scared for his life. That's the best you can do? And you mean to tell me giving you more weapons is going to help this problem? If the only thing that you can invest in is violence, you're creating the situation to justify your own existence.
That ain't right.
Change it.
How many times, I can't even tell you, when we were canvassing and reaching out in the neighborhood and we explained the gun range, how many people told us, oh, I thought it was the gangs. By their own violence, they're justifying their own presence and increased militarization. We can no longer accept this as a people, as Atlantans.
We don't accept
If
it.
we can't figure out a way to fix public safety without locking tons of black kids up in the blackest city in America, every person in that building needs to step down. If we can't do it here, we can't do it anywhere.
That's right.
Are there any questions?
What are your plans to accomplish today?
What are my plans to accomplish today?
Petitions. Presenting the petitions.
So, well, I think that the first thing that we did was awareness. And now we will be reaching out, turning this corner, and going to speak to our elected officials about our grievances. We will have them heard, and we want them to follow the courses of action that we explained in that letter.
What is your response to the allegations against the demonstrators who were arrested? They were being violent, they were attacking officers, using fireworks.
How do you know that?
This is what police
Right.
You've heard it.
Okay.
They said.
You've heard it said.
Yes. We have allegations of people being violent against police. I did not see that. I saw people in long rifles that were law enforcement officers.
Hunting.
The only person that I saw tackled was not a law enforcement officer. And as I just explicated, even with the destruction that is on this police training facility, we're still not even at a net zero yet of where they shouldn't have gone past because of the appeal process. The person that was on the Citizen Review Board or the CSAC, the Citizens, I forget the S, but Advisory Committee, actually filed the appeal against the land disturbance permit. Now that was supposed to stop the building process. However, in an email, Dave Wilkinson, the CEO of the Atlanta Police Foundation, said that they were going to keep moving forward anyway. So all of the progress and all of the clearing of the trees alone should not have happened. So even by people destroying every single thing that was on that piece of property, they've still gone too far. This is the asymmetry that we're talking about in the coverage of this project.
Yes. There's over 30 minutes of surveillance footage that was released through the holiday. It does show a crowd
haven't seen that video.
When the police raided the music festival last night, do you know if they were targeting people who they suspected of engaging in direct action, or if they were just targeting people present at the festival with not really any, without specifically going after, people?
It seemed utterly arbitrary. Once again, I saw a Georgia State Patrol officer tackle somebody, and his justification was that he was running. And generally speaking, if I were being chased after by somebody with a gun, I'd run. And this was the only justification that this officer put forward that I saw. I saw that with my own eyes.
Did you?
Yeah.
Did you see the use of any chemical weapons or flashbangs by the police inside the forest last night?
I did not personally see that.
Question. This is happening in Atlanta, and so why are the majority of people engaging in violence coming from other states or even from other countries?
Well, as a matter of fact,
the reality of it is that the ones who are engaging in violence are the police, and they're from right here in Atlanta, Georgia. You got APD, you got Georgia State Police, you got GBI, you got Georgia State Troopers, you got everybody except the MARTA police who are engaging in violence and terrorism against the people who are standing against this illegal land swap. So I would suggest that the next time you decide that you are going to bring up your police rhetoric that you get from whichever police source, you go ahead and discuss that with them, because we don't know what they're doing, but what we do know is what we're doing, and what we see from them that we know. I know when I get hit by an officer. I know when I see a mother with a child begging to be let up off the ground because her children are with her. I know when I see officers pointing a rifle inside a bouncy house. Anything else you want to know? Thank you, that's all we have time for. We're going to invite the clergy to line up right here 2 by 2, and we will process into the city council meeting.
If
I could just say, I'd like to just bring up a story. Initially, the colonizers that came onto this land attempted to use the indigenous folks as their slaves. However, the indigenous folks knew the land so they could get away. Now, when you ask me about why is it that you keep catching people that aren't from here, that might not reflect the people that are actually involved in the resistance. God bless you.
Thank you. We shall not be moved. We shall not be moved. Just like a tree that's planted by the water. We shall not be moved. Fighting for our freedom. We shall not be moved. Fighting for our freedom. We shall not be moved. Just like a tree planted by the waters, we shall not be moved. Fighting for our children, we shall not be moved. Fighting for our children, we shall not be moved. Just like a tree planted by the waters, we shall not be moved. Marching on to victory, we shall not be moved. Marching on to victory, we shall not be moved. Like a tree planted by the waters, we shall not be moved. We shall not be moved. We shall not be moved. Like a tree planted by the waters, we shall keep on walking, keep on talking, marching up to freedom land. Not gonna let Andre Dickens turn us around, turn us around, turn us around. Ain't gonna let Andre Dickens turn us around. We're gonna keep on walking, keep on talking, marching up to freedom land. Ain't gonna let nobody turn us around, turn us around, turn us around. Ain't gonna let nobody turn us around. We're gonna keep on walking, keep on talking, marching up to freedom land. Ain't gonna let nobody turn us around, turn us around, turn us around. Ain't gonna let nobody turn us around. We're gonna keep on walking, keep on talking, marching up to freedom land. We shall not be moved. We shall not be moved. Just like a tree planted by the waters, we shall not be moved. Marching on to victory, we shall not be moved. Marching on to victory, we shall not be moved. Just like a tree that's planted by the waters, we shall not be moved. Fighting for our children, we shall not be moved. Fighting for our children, we shall not be moved. Just like a tree that's planted by the waters, we shall not be moved. We shall not be moved. We shall not be moved. Like a tree planted by the waters, we shall not be moved. Marching on to victory, we shall not be moved. Marching on to victory, we shall not be moved. Just like a tree that's planted by the waters, we shall not be moved. I know, you have a beautiful voice.
So for anyone who's just joining us, we're live on Unicorn Riot. We just saw a press conference by an Interfaith Clergy coalition against the Cop City Police Urban Warfare Training Center that's set to demolish a large part of Atlanta's urban forest tree canopy for basically a police militarization training school. Some clergy just spoke outside in front of City Hall, and they've just marched into the building, and they're going to be delivering a letter with demands, with many signatures, going to attempt to deliver it to, I believe, Mayor Andre Dickens, possibly Atlanta City Council. Sorry if I'm mixing that up. Yeah, I just did. I'm going to try to get someone to speak real quick.
I know you now when you have people getting caught up.
And so the question was, if this is so important to people that are local, then why is it that all the people have invited this one or two? Thank you, Reverend. I mean, really, are you located? You have a church?
My church is here.
And so that is the context for me using that.
Hi, I'm sorry to bother you, but we're live. Would you be able to just quickly tell people where we are and what's going on?
Right. So I was saying.
Hello, we are here at Atlanta City Hall. We are going into the Atlanta City Council meeting to deliver a letter that is signed by over 200 clergy members, and we're going to deliver this letter to the office of Mayor Andre Dickens. We've shown up to make sure that our elected officials know that we're still holding them accountable.
And so what's, for anyone that maybe doesn't know, kind of what is the Cop City Project? What's it mean to Atlanta? Why is it important for you as clergy to show up here today?
My goodness. So the Cop City Project is a doozy. And in a nutshell, what it would do is take away over 380 acres of green space in a very black neighborhood of East Atlanta that is on the heels of gentrification right now. And that particular corner of East Atlanta is probably the only corner of East Atlanta that is not fully gentrified yet. So what that means for someone like me who lives right behind the proposed facility location is that not only will I no longer have a path for my children to bike and me to roller skate and my husband and my sons to run in the woods, I won't have any green space for them anymore in my local area. That also means pollution in our air. That means sediment and other pollutants in our groundwater. That means more police and militarization of police, as a matter of fact, because Cop City will be complete with a mock city for urban warfare testing. It will also have a bomb testing facility, and it'll be complete with a Black Hawk helicopter landing pad so that they can practice warfare. They are planning to train Israelis and other military outfits there at Cop City, as we know that the Atlanta Police has a history of being trained by those very same military outfits at their facilities. And in a nutshell, Cop City means nothing good for me and my family. It means over-policing of black bodies. It means taking away resources from the families of East Atlanta. And it means certain destruction for the black people in that community.
Thank you. So at the press conference just now, some of the local corporate media was kind of repeating things the police have said about all these people they're coming from out of town, they're violent. Would you mind responding to that?
Absolutely. So what we saw, particularly with last night's raid of a peaceful music festival wherein they pointed a rifle into a bouncy house, we saw that police were deliberately targeting people who they thought were from out of town. There were many people at that music festival who are from right here in Atlanta, Georgia, including myself and my family. family. None of us were arrested. So far, everyone that we know for sure that has been arrested is an out-of-towner. So we know that they are feeding their own narrative so that those who are ignorant in society will continue to carry that for them.
I guess, yeah, one thing I wanted to ask about is kind of how do you see this outside agitator narrative? How do you see that relating to like the history of the civil rights movement? Because we've heard it before,
It's exactly the same thing. So this was the narrative during the civil rights movement. This was the narrative during the time of emancipation and when abolitionists emerged. What we saw then is the same thing we see now, that so-called law enforcement is saying that black people don't know how to stand up for themselves, that the community doesn't know what it wants, that the community won't stand in solidarity, but that there are outside people who are coming to do this for us. While we certainly appreciate all the solidarity from people around the country and around the world, this is an Atlanta fight, and we in it all the way.
What's your response to the police's use of pepper balls, tear gas, and flashbangs in the raid last night?
My reaction, my first reaction was that my heart caught in my throat, and I had no idea what to think, what to say, what to feel, but what I knew was that I was enraged. And I was enraged because the police, with impunity and without any discretion for the people who were in that crowd, deployed these tactics that are so detrimental to all bodies. So we came together as a community, a beloved community. We know that black, brown, and indigenous bodies are the ones who are most at risk, but all of our relatives were there. All of our brothers and sisters in community were there, and many of us had our families with us. We had young children, so it was appalling to see that police don't even have regard for babies.
Well, hello. I'm Valencia with CW69, and I was late to the party. I'm going to ask you to recap what you said in response. As it was said, police have alleged and they posted video of them throwing rocks, Molotov cocktails. So recap your sentiment in regard to what police have shown on video and said.
Well, one thing that I know is that police have been known not only to alter video, but to present false video. So I have not seen those. What I saw last night was the live coverage by Unicorn Riot, because I had fortunately just left right before all of the melee began to happen. My reaction to that is that if anyone would have responded to police in that way, they must have been in fear for their lives. And when people are in fear for their lives, we see they got a license to kill, especially if they got a badge, a gun, and a taser. So they did what they had to do.
All right, and your name, ma'am?
Kiana, Keyannna Jones.
Jones, I'm Jones too, and what's your title?
Reverend.
Well, I got Reverend. And now, are you a member of Defend the Atlanta Forest?
I am a member of the Faith Coalition to Stop Cop City.
Thank you.
Thank you.
No, real quick, I just wanted to introduce myself. My name is Lisa.
Right.
I'm gonna probably have to move my toilet. Oh, I got time today. Yeah, I did. I got time today.
Where can I find somebody with Defend the Atlanta Forest? Okay. I'm wondering if there is a specific
Today at work. It's my day.
Okay, I got you.
It's a good Judah. You know the
Let me just speak behind you. I'm sorry. Thank you.
So who's speaking? Do you know if you sign up, you can yield your time?
We got it. Hi, how are you?
Good, good. I haven't asked to yield any time. I didn't know what the plans were.
I got it.
Yeah, that's all I hope that
you don't have to.
every day. Every day.
You know what I can cross?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Let me find out, record control can talk to you. Did he get any time?
You can go right on in. Yes, ma'am. You can do it.
Okay. I'm gonna have to if he in, because he got I'm gonna get him 2 minutes. I can give him 2 minutes. Ronnie Mullen, I'm gonna give him 2 minutes. I want to let me see what he's gonna do. I'll come back. Okay? Yeah, I want to yield. Okay. Because I want to speak too.
Okay. You get 2 minutes.
2 minutes.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, 2 minutes. I want to say something, but here, I'll come back.
No, you're fine. Yes, sir. So, you
Corporate comment that people are going to speak inside. Is it? We're not down, right? It's just like right here. Okay.
the topic that you want to speak to? And your signature? And if you choose to leave contact information, email or phone, we got 2 minutes. So are you going to be using time or
It's right after. I don't know. No, sorry. That's
It's going to cut through behind you. Excuse me. I'm sorry. Excuse me. Thank you. I'm sorry.
Sure. It doesn't really matter.
Oh, never mind, maybe.
So I'm pretty much
Oh, this is true. This is true. That's right, right control.
Yes, ma'am.
Right, don't get we right with you. We with you, mom.
Live streaming right now. Would either of you mind just speaking for a second about why you're here and what's going on? Is that okay? I won't point it at you without you.
Okay, I can do it real quick.
Thank you. Yeah, so if anyone just doesn't know what's up, why you're here, what's going on, if you don't mind just catching us up.
Yeah, it's only because it's Unicorn Riot. I only support independent media. And real talk. We're here at the Atlanta City Council meeting here in Atlanta City Hall, right in the heart of the city, to deliver a message. And this isn't a new message, as a matter of fact. We're just here as a faith coalition to reinforce a message that's already been sent for years and decades, which is to stop the bulldozing, the excavation of one of our lungs, our largest national urban forest, and to put an end to the militarization and the violence that has consumed not just this project, but in the last 24 hours against protesters who are currently detained as we speak, facing domestic terrorism charges. We're also here because the blood of Manuel Tortuguita will not be shed in vain. We are convicted by our faith that there is an injustice and inequity, and we're just here to do what the prophets of old talked about, what Jesus attempted to do before he was murdered by the state, which is to level, right, to repair the breach. And only until we do that and make reparations, then we can actually move towards reconciliation. So that's why we're here.
And so, what do you need to go, or is it okay if I? Okay.
Yeah,
so what do you think about? So like the local Fox affiliate was very pointed at your press conference, asking about or being like, oh, the police say that there's all this violence and it's all being done by people from out of state, essentially. And so what? Well, what's your response to that?
As an aware clergy person, I'm able to tell when there's news that is prophetized corporately, and so I'm not surprised by any of that. Most of our major news sources, including the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, which I appreciate, is unfortunately a part of the problem. They are helping to sponsor.
To go to a different one. Heads up.
Thank you.
March 6, 2023 of the Atlanta City Council. We have a couple of reminders. There is an overflow room for additional folks who want to watch the proceedings. Also, there's no food and drink in the room, so if you have brought in things from the reception, I would like to step out while you're taking those. And with that, I would ask the Madam Deputy Clerk to call the initial roll.
Good afternoon, Council President Doug Shipman. Present. Council members Michael Julian Bond.
Yes.
Matt Westmoreland.
Here.
Keisha Sean Wade. Present. Jason Winston.
Here.
Amir Farouk.
Here.
Byron Amos.
Here. No, this is
Jason
my
Dozier.
first one.
Liliana Bakhtiar. Here. Alex Vaughn. Howard Shook. Mary Norwood. Here. Dustin Hillis. Andrea Booth. Marcia Collier Oaktree. Antonio Forum President.
Thank you. Next, I would ask for a motion regarding the adoption of the agenda, but I believe we have some motion.
Give him my number. Give him.
Moved by Councilman Muir, seconded by Councilman Bakhtiari.
Give him my number. He should have. And just probably look through his phone.
Yes,
I know this. Yeah.
The order of the agenda to allow the City Utilities Committee to stand report to happen.
Is there a second second by Councilman Bakhtiari? There's an amendment to the agenda to move the CUC committee prior to the committee on council being adjacent to the committee on council. Is there any discussion of the amendment? Will this be unanimous consent? Is there any objection? Madam Deputy Clerk, will you call the count on unanimous consent on the motion to amend?
Unanimous consent is 12 yeas, 0 nays.
12 yeas, 0 nays. The motion to amend carries. We now are back to the original motion to adopt the agenda. Are there any other changes that we propose? And then discussion on the motion to adopt the agenda. If we do this via unanimous consent as well, without objection, any objections to the agenda? Madam Deputy Clerk, please sound the count for unanimous consent on the motion to adopt the agenda.
Unanimous consent is 12 yeas, 0 nays.
12 yeas, 0 nays. The agenda is adopted as amended. Next, we'll move to our presentation. It is an honor and a pleasure to invite my boyfriend, Aaron Mason, with us to offer the invocation.
Mr. President, distinguished members of the Atlanta City Council, honored guests and friends, my brothers and sisters, let us pray. Gracious and almighty God, we stand here on sacred and holy ground in a place called City Hall, the People's Hall, where decisions are made that impact and affect the citizens of Atlanta. And so, God, we therefore ask that you would continue to bless and cover each elected official. That they will continue to make the right
It's a media nonprofit registered in Minnesota.
for the people in our city. Oh God, we come to you in this month, March, which is Women's History Month. And we thank you for all of the cherished women in our lives. Our mothers, our grandmothers, our great-grandmothers, our aunts, the mothers who sat on the porch and watched us as we walked by. Our village, God, we thank you for these.
If you want to see the meeting, we can go in the committee room. So we're like number 5, so there's a lot of meetings going to happen.
And it's going to clear out.
You want to get to the 3rd floor?
Once the proclamations start rolling, though, it'll clear out down here, so you can open up here. You need a shot.
They told me I have to be upstairs. They're being yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, of course. No, I understand it's you got a little bit of a hurting cat situation, so.
Y'all starting? Maybe second.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We'll now move to proclamations, commendations, and other special awards. I would first like to ask Councilmember Andre Booth to come forward and honor Dr. James Dinsler and all of those
Can you tighten this on top for me, Sean?
Line. Yeah, just change the line.
Can you also do me a favor and check the power connection? It should be plugged into, it just shows it's not charging. It should be plugged in here. I think you might have to turn on the battery inside my backpack.
You plug in. Count on 1 to count 2.
Yeah, it's got to be the battery connection in, not the main pocket, but the broadcaster, but the other one.
Count 1. Because she's not talking to you.
That worked. And then if you wouldn't mind just putting the line in back.
In 1961, he was the first honor student to receive his medical degree from Harvard Medical College in Nashville, Tennessee. From 1961 to 1966, Dr. Denzler did his internship in general surgery, residency at the United States Public Health Hospital, Staten Island, New York. From 1966 to 1968, he completed his fellowship in pediatric surgery at the United Hospitals of Newark, New Jersey. In 1969, Dr. Denzler started his practice in Atlanta, Georgia, with the Atlanta Surgical Professional Association. His associates were Dr. Clinton Warner, MD, and Warner E. Meadows, MD. We have their wives here today. Wave your hand. Development Center, Atlanta, Georgia, and as a consultant surgeon for the Georgia Children's Medical Service from 1988 to 1990. And whereas Dr. James Franklin Denzler was the first African-American pediatric surgeon to practice in the United States of America.
1976. Locally, he was the first African American to serve on the hospital authority of Fulton County for Northside Hospital in Atlanta, Georgia from 1980 to 1988. James are here today with him. James Denzler's hobbies include gardening and photography. He is proud of the care and service he gave his patients. He is also very elated about the many students, residents, patients, family members, and friends who let him serve as their mentor, role model, and all who went on to become outstanding, dedicated workers in their fields of endeavor. Now, therefore, be it resolved that we, the members of the Atlanta City Council, today proclaim March 6, 2023 is Dr. James Franklin Denzler Day in the city of Atlanta, the first Black We have been joined by the Chief of Staff to the Honorable Mayor Andre Dickens, Mr. Chief Obi Johnson.
I would just say on behalf of Mayor Dickens, this is a very important moment for us, and always thankful for Councilmember Gomes, who's been not only a champion for Southwest Atlanta, but really for Atlanta overall. And this year, one of the most appropriate days for us to be bringing this conversation and this recognition forward, because this year the mayor has declared is the year of the youth, and the mental health and the physical health and well-being of our children and our youth is something that the good doctor has really kind of put forward for decades now. And so for this day to be recognized by our council and to be highlighted by the ceremonial letter of the mayor is just one of the most appropriate times. So on behalf of the mayor, I wanted to definitely highlight this recognition and contribute a ceremonial letter from the mayor as part of today's celebration.
Today we have special guests that are here with us today, and we will hear from a few of them. We will hear from Dr. Valerie Montgomery Rice, President of Morehouse School of Medicine. We will hear from Dr. Edward Barksdale, Carroll Western Reserve University School of Medicine, Cleveland, Ohio, Chief of Surgery, Rainbow Ladies and Children's Hospital, and immediate past President of the American Pediatric Surgical Association. Dr. Valerie Montgomery Rice.
Well, thank you so much for bestowing this honor on one of our heroes. It takes a village to raise a child. Dr. Denzler started a long time ago when he was teaching the sixth graders. He didn't know yet what path he wanted to take, but he knew that it would be a path that led to greatness. And as you look around this room, all of us have been a part of his village, and he has shepherded us one way or another with his kindness and his grace. He is a man of integrity, inclusion, cooperation, unity, unselfish mindset, sacrifice, and obedience. He is what we call a servant leader. He has a lion's heart, though, because it has taken a lot of courage. You got to remember, if you go back and you look at the history, when he set about to go to medical school, he wanted to go to medical college of Georgia in his home state. He met all the criteria, guys. Yet, the segregationist policies of the board at that time prohibited his admission. Instead, the institution provided him with a tuition scholarship and a travel stipend as he turned segregation money for him to go to Mahara Medical College. He graced us with Dr. Denson. There he learned the art of caring even more. He learned cultural humility. He learned that the smallest things can provide wellness in your day with just a little act of kindness. For me, kindness came in the format of creative photography. Every Valentine's Day, I would get a set of cards from Dr. Densler and stamps of all of the famous women and Black women who had named to a freestanding medical school. He understood what it meant to be first, and he graced me with that kindness. I cannot tell you what it has done for me. And if you look around the room, every one of us can tell a story of how he has touched us. I say to you, thank you for the faith that you had in me as your leader. I said thank you for the commitment that you had to service and to excellence, and for all the young minds that you continue to touch. You all, he still comes over and teaches and shares wisdom with us. People who end up as first don't actually set out to be first. They set out to do something they love. And we know you love what you do, and we love you, Dr. Grace.
And before we hear from our next speaker, I must recognize these living legends that stand with him. His wife, Mabel
Good afternoon. Council Member Boone, President of Council, City Council members, distinguished guests, family, Dr. Densler, and in this month of the woman, Ms. Mabel. As a man who happens to be a surgeon and who happens to be an academic leader, I recognize that it's those people who stand behind you who get you through days like this and do not acknowledge, as Dr. Densler stopped me 10 days ago, I knew I had a lot to do to rearrange my schedule to be here. I am profoundly honored and humbled to join you at this celebration of a remarkable contributions and just the role that he is as a man, as a humanitarian. You know, I first met Dr. Densler and Ms. Mabel at a dinner at one of our national meetings. And for me, I felt like a groupie. I thought I was meeting a rock star. And what astonished me was his humility and his grace. And Ms. Mabel's place, we sat and we talked, and I knew who he was. He finished his training in 1976 as the first African-American pediatric surgeon in the United States. I finished my training in 1994 as the sixth African-American. This is not to celebrate me. This is to celebrate the children. Because when there is a jungle, we don't walk through the jungle unless there's someone who's been there before us with a machete, so that we can follow in their footsteps. And those of you who have been in jungles with machetes know it's not for violence, it's for creative act. So for me, this dinner was it was the beginning of a 26-year relationship in which I didn't get stamps with women, but I got nice pictures. And equally as important, get words of encouragement. Because there's sometimes in this world where the weight of what we do becomes very heavy. I would like to close like one of my other role models, Dr. Montgomery Rice, who I'm a way senior citizen to her at the United Medical School. But I'd like to use this quote that I find so apropos today, and it's by Pericles, when he spoke at the first phase of the Peloponnesian War, when people, the Greeks, were down on the and I'll have to read this to you. I committed to everyone. In front of us audience, I want to make sure I get it. And what Pericles says is, what we leave behind is not what is engraved in stone monuments, but what is woven into the lives of others. So Dr. Densler, your tapestry, as are many people here, we are the threads of your tapestry. You have been a master weaver of the human spirit, of the human aspiration, and of this city of Atlanta. You've been the bedrock of support for so many undergraduates, medical students, residents, physicians in training, and you have inspired many leaders in American surgery, including deans Anya Ford, University of Miami, Dean Andrea A. Jordan, Howard, and Chief of Surgery, Surgeon-in-Chief Anthony Stout, Oman Hospital, Jeff Vanderbilt, and James Gilbert in
whole family, my nephew, my sisters, my grandmother, and all came to my graduation on the Greyhound bus in 1961.
Dr. James Dinsler is reminiscing over a lifetime of fond memories. The Savannah, Georgia native and Army veteran made history as the first African-American pediatric surgeon in the United States. No easy feat, as many public medical schools were not integrated at the time. Dinsler was accepted into Meharry Medical College in Nashville, Tennessee. His hospital internship and residency was in Staten Island, New York. He married his wife Mabel in the hospital's chapel.
We married June 23rd, 1962. So that has been 60 years.
He moved to Atlanta and started his practice in 1969, the partner of the Atlanta Surgical Professional Association, having success without the advancements readily available today.
Some of the cases that I've done, and I showed the slides and they said, look at the sonogram show. I said, we didn't have a sonogram show. Look at the CT show. I said, we didn't have no CT scans.
Despite it all, he served 30 years, missing only one day due to sickness. Dr. Dinsler would go on to pour his knowledge into first and second year medical students at Morehouse School of Medicine. Now, at 90, Dinsler is enjoying retired life with the love of his life. His advice for those hoping to enter the field of medicine is simple.
Be a person that loves people and cares for people.
Wise counsel from a man who dedicated his life to doing just that.
Monday.
Okay, can you all come on in, please? Squeeze in. Set it for a day.
What did the pastor say? We don't want
Oh, yeah. Right now? Yeah, you got it.
There's another space on the other side where there's only one camera over there.
Oh, okay.
Just right on the other side.
Do you know if they can... I'm just worried about the public access podium. I don't know if I can get that from over there.
That's
But
true.
yeah, maybe our team could split up though. I appreciate it. Hey Sean, how do you feel about, there's another side over there. Do you want to try posting up over there? Pretty good. You don't have to, you have a one spot? Actually, Sean, if you don't mind scoping it out over there, if you feel like you have a good angle on the public comment podium, like if we could see people's faces from over there. Because if I thought I could get faces there, I would move over there. But I'm like not sure, you know. Thank you.
Is that where they're speaking from?
I know that a bunch of like the protesters signed up for public comment, so that's what I'm staking out. That's my assumption. I actually have no idea.
That's what I assume too, but I don't know.
Yeah, we're all reaching in the dark here.
Transition out. If you are here with Mabel Thomas, could you please come up, please? Thank you.
If you need to, because I'm not going to shoot just one either.
Okay.
I'm just being prepared in case it don't get away.
Yeah, you never know. It could be any time.
This is truly a special day for me. I am City Council Member Byron Amos, Atlanta City Council, District 3, and as I said this morning, a proud protege of Manuel Tortuguita. I remember my 8th grade promotion ceremony, John F. Kennedy Middle School. There was a young lady, state representative, who came and gave us words of wisdom and realizing she was from the city of Atlanta, realizing she was from English Avenue, the neighborhood right across the line in my city, realizing she walked and talked the same streets that I walked and talked and came from. I said to myself, one day, I wanted to be just like her. So I remember this young lady bringing me down to the state capitol. There was a page of hers and Frank Redding, if I remember, just to go on the history trip. But I am honored, I am proud to be able on this day as a city council member to say thank you to someone that the entire world knows simply as Amen. We actually bestowed upon her the Distinguished Recognition Award from the Council District 3 for outstanding community service. Being a member of District 3 is special because we come from the historic district. But I believe that there so you can research it on this day. And Women's History Month is even more special to stand here with all of her colleagues, former colleagues. But more importantly, we're here to do a proclamation from the Atlanta City Council in recognition of Able Mabel Thomas, whereas the Atlanta City Council recognizes the life and contributions of one of Atlanta's most influential political leaders. And whereas Able Mabel Thomas has been a powerful force for change, freedom, justice, and equality for all Georgians and disenfranchised people around the world, throughout her tenure, Able Mabel Thomas has fought issues such as education reform, women's reproductive health, living wages, racial profiling, economic development, access to health care, and senior citizens issues. And whereas her incredible service began in 1984 when she was chosen as a presidential delegate for candidate Reverend Jesse Jackson at the Democratic National Convention held in San Francisco. While there, she formally announced her candidacy for the Georgia House of Representatives, where she eventually won a highly contested battle with a long-standing incumbent. And whereas in 1997 she again sought public office when in post-one at-large seat on the Atlanta City Council, which allowed her to focus on quality of life issues most impacting people throughout Atlanta. As a city council member, she was responsible for passing the affordable housing policy bill, obtaining $4.9 million for the Atlanta Green Space Conservation, and was a major stakeholder in community efforts to secure the historic West Side Revitalization Project. And whereas Able Mabel has been a successful executive director of the Greater Atlanta City Opportunities Program Incorporated, which provides youth and family enrichment and educational opportunities for high-risk urban youth. Now, therefore, be resolved that we, the members of the Atlanta City Council, on behalf of the citizens, do hereby honor and commend former councilwoman and state representative Able Mabel Thomas for all of her contributions to the city of Atlanta and to the state of Georgia. And it is time by
this ceremonial letter on his behalf. So we are thankful not only for this contribution, but extremely glad and honored that you've been able to join us today. And that council member Amy kind of coordinated this whole activity. So on behalf of the mayor, I want to say thank you and also provide this ceremonial letter on your behalf. So it's a lot going on today. We got crossover day, and this proclamation really don't speak to all the great work that was done over at the State House as well. So I have a couple of people I definitely have to mention and recognize today, and we get that very quickly to our speakers. But we have Dee Wynn, State Director for Senator Warnock. Is she still here? Well, she was here earlier. Then, of course, I think I seen Derek Bozeman, of course, former Councilwoman Cheryl, is back there good. Next to this former colleague, Sherry Dorsey. Sharon Beasley Teague as well. She's here from across the street, now the Hall Commissioner, up behind me. Senator Vincent Ford, is he still here as well? Okay. Felicia Rahman definitely is here. And, of course, former Council President Felicia Moore as well. Councilmember Matt Westmoreland will present.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Matt Westmoreland, and I am here to present the next honor that comes from the seat of American democracy. That comes from the United States House of Representatives from our Congresswoman Nikema Williams. I will read two portions of it. It says, today I proudly celebrate the Honorable Mabel Thomas for her lifelong service and enormous impact across Georgia's 5th Congressional District and the entire state of Georgia. Now therefore be it resolved that I, Nikema Williams, the member of the United States House of Representatives, hereby issue this congressional proclamation in recognition of Able Mabel Thomas. In witness thereof, I set my hand and cause the seal of the United States House of Representatives to be affixed on this 6th day of March 2023. Thank you so much, Mabel, for your tenacious advocacy and all you've done for this city and this state and for the country.
Someone who needs no introduction, but I'm still calling her name, City Councilwoman Andrea Boone.